Hi, this is Dr. Micol Neely, and thanks for listening to our show. We are here to talk a little bit about mindset, movement, and muscle, and maybe a few other little fun things along the way. Welcome back. Funny story. So this year started out with a little soccer headbutt with my 7-year-old son and a broken nose. But just so you know the power of the peptides that I'm always talking about, 1 week later, we're almost healed up. But in case you notice a little bit of a interesting look to my nose, it's healing still. Kristina, have you ever broke your nose?
I have not. That
is
is one thing I have not broken.
It was interesting.
I'm sure painful.
Yeah, but not as much as my toe that I broke then 2 days later. So This year's starting out great.
Love it.
How's
Love
yours
it.
going?
It's going good.
Good.
And actually, it's going really, really good.
Good. Well, tell me, how did we meet? It was about a year ago.
Yeah, it'll be a year on March 16th.
Amazing.
And how do I remember that? It's not because I'm like creepy or weird. It's because it was a day before my birthday.
Perfect. That's right.
Because you were doing the IVs and whatnot at the race that I had just completed.
Yeah.
And so I went because I was dying, because I was 50 pounds heavier and ran 14 miles. And I hadn't really trained for it. And so I ran over to your tent and I was like, what is the IVs about? And I need one.
It was amazing. So I was there with our staff and we were giving out IVs after trail racing. How far did you run that day?
I think it was 14 miles.
Okay.
Exactly.
And yeah, you and your friend were a little wiped out and we put you in a chair, gave you an IV. What was your first experience there out in the field after a run getting an IV?
It actually felt absolutely amazing, which I had never experienced that before. Usually after the run, I'm like dying, trying to guzzle down as much water as I can. But this time it just really just helped with the healing and the what was I thinking? Soreness.
Yeah.
Instantly I was hydrated again, which is so important because I just always am dehydrated after a run, no matter how much I drink during the run. So it was great.
We had so much fun talking to you, getting to know you. And I feel like instant bond there.
Yes, most definitely.
Especially over trail running.
Yes, definitely.
But like you said, you were 50 pounds heavier then.
Yes, I was.
And here we are 9-10 months later. How much weight have you lost?
So I've lost 51 pounds.
Great.
Since April.
What did you have to change mindset-wise to get on that track?
Mainly what I did was I had to remind myself that it's not going to be instant. Just like it instantly I didn't gain the 50 pounds overnight. I'm not going to lose it overnight.
Yeah.
And it was really just focusing on the end goal of being healthy again. I was always small when I was little. Mm-hmm. I'm meant to be small. If you look at my bone structure, I'm not one of those people that you can tell that are meant to be a little bit heavier or on the heavier side of their weight chart,
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm meant to be on the lower side of that. And I think just really keeping the focus on it's one day at a time and that I can do it. And I need to do it because I do want to live a long, healthy life.
Yeah. What was the biggest challenge when we started on this journey, getting onto the weight loss track? Where did you have to change some of your habits or the biggest challenge for you at the beginning?
So I think that based off of what we were doing, because I was doing the weight loss shot, it was just getting accustomed to this idea of when to eat and when not. Like it ultimately actually when to eat, because one of the things it did was really suppress my appetite.
Yeah.
And so I went into this kind of mindset of not eating, which is not good at all, because then I was just weak and stuff. So for the first few weeks, it was just really adjusting and making sure that I was eating enough and really getting into that and making sure that I was eating the right food as well.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you listened. We had a lot of talks about getting enough calories and protein.
Yes.
What did I preach to you over and over?
Protein and making sure I ate. Yes.
Yeah.
Making sure I ate enough and making sure I ate often. Smaller meals is ultimately what I tried to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a challenge for a lot of people, especially women, as they do this path. They think like less calories is better because then you're going to lose weight faster. But in the long run, then you're losing muscle.
Right.
And if you lose muscle, you're going to be weaker and you're not going to keep it off. So we really, really focused with you on losing the fat, not the muscle.
Correct.
Because I wanted you to be running too.
Yes. Yes.
How do you feel now, 50 pounds lighter and with your running?
I absolutely feel amazing. I feel like I just feel like I can conquer the world. And the biggest thing for me is that I actually feel like how I felt when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I've gotten my life back. I love how I look and I love how I feel. And I mean, I don't know. It's just very euphoric.
Yeah. I love to hear that. Tell me a little, why trail running? Why not like road races, marathons? Give me what got you into running and specifically trail running.
Sure. So I've actually been running trails since before it was like a thing. My friends back, 20, 30 years ago were always just on the street, and trails were hiking.
Yeah.
They didn't even have proper shoes back then when I started trail running like they do now.
I know. I just got my first pair this last year of real trail shoes.
Yes.
My favorite.
Las Sportivas.
Yes.
Anyway.
Thanks to you.
But to me, trail running is more than just the run.
Yeah.
It's not just a street that it's the same over and over and over again. There's so much involved with trail running. You have to pay attention to rocks. You have to pay attention to branches. You have to pay attention to whether you're going up the hill, coming down the hill. I mean, there's just so much more to it.
Yeah.
But reality too is that trail running to me is actually very spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a time for me to be with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it also is a time for me to be with God. So I do a lot of my talking with God during this time. And I do a lot of self-talking to myself and just really focusing on me. And it's a time for me to be quiet with all of the distractions. I mean, trail running, depending upon what trail I'm at, it's always going to be away from the city, even if I am in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
With the Phoenix Preserves, there's just so many trails. And sometimes I even forget that I'm even in the middle of a city, and I just get to focus on me and God, or just life in general. And I do my best talking to God through my trail running.
How does that affect the rest of your life?
It helps me really just remember that He's there to help me through all of my struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I'm dealing with a struggle, I do a lot of speaking to Him about that stuff. And He actually will help give me my ideas and help me brainstorm, whether it's a case that I'm working on that I'm like really struggling with, or whether it's a relationship that I'm struggling with. Trail running is just, it's my way of helping figure those things out.
That's amazing. You're really accomplished. You're a leader in the community. You're an accomplished athlete running these races and an amazing family law attorney. Where do you find balance for all this?
That is a very, very good question. And I have to say that it's something I still struggle with daily, because it is hard balancing my law firm, balancing being a mother, a wife, and also being an athlete.
Yeah.
So I try to take it one day at a time, and I give myself a lot of grace to understand that there might be times that I have to skip a workout, or there might be times that I'm not going to be able to do this, go to the movies with my daughter, and just really figuring out what is my priority for that day.
Yeah. What does a day in your life look like?
It does fluctuate, because I just never know when I get to the office what I'm dealing with.
Sure.
So even when I have my day laid out, I can walk into the office with emergencies.
I can only imagine. Just my experience in family law has not been fun. And so I can't imagine dealing with that every day.
It is tough. It can be tough. But then there are some moments that are just really rewarding. So if I'm able to reunite a family, or if I'm able to resolve issues, things of that nature, it can be very rewarding. But I mean, my typical day is just I get up, get ready, I'm very fortunate, very, very fortunate that I have a very loving and supporting husband.
That's amazing.
So like, he's really good about making sure that I have my nutrition. He does all my meal planning. He does all my food for me, thankfully. He does all of that. So that does take a lot off my plate. And so then I get ready, I go to work. I then, deal with what I have to do for the day. And then I work out at night.
That's so important. Like your partner can make or break you. And I see that over and over in women, especially accomplished, It can bring you down no matter how strong you are if you don't have the right partner.
Yes.
I love when we talk nutrition. You're always like, just send that to my husband because he'll make sure I got it.
Yes. Because he's also invested in me being healthy because he knows that if I'm healthy, that I'll be able to live longer.
Yeah.
And he's an athlete himself and he also is very healthy.
Yeah.
And he always has been. He was fortunate enough that he hasn't struggled with his weight over our 23 years of marriage where I have. Mm-hmm. But he's always been so supportive of helping me to be able to accomplish the goal because he wants to be with me, for the rest of our lives. And he wants me to be just as healthy as he is. And so it's important.
You haven't always had that support, though. I know you've been through a lot of hard things that have grown you and strengthened you. Do you want to tell us just highlights of some of that and how you came out of it?
Yeah. So, my childhood was it was pretty different than, like a typical, I guess, what you would say, a typical family. I grew up with.
It wasn't Leave It to Beaver.
It was definitely not Leave It to Beaver.
I don't know if that half the people know what that is even more.
Yeah. The Gen Xers do.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I am a true Gen Xer. And so, but I grew up, my parents were divorced.
Yeah.
So I divorced when I was not even a year old, or I think I was about a year old. My dad lived back east. My mom lived here, brought us here to Arizona. Wow. But, growing up, being the youngest of 5 with my mom and my dad, and growing up in the 70s and 80s as a divorced, a child of a divorce was actually seen as like a very negative.
Different back then, yeah.
Oh, very much so.
Not
it was.
A lot of support.
Was not a lot of support. And then, I had my father and my stepmom and my younger sister back east. And it was I just lived a very different life here versus there. Mm-hmm. And then there were just lots of other struggles. I'm a late diagnosed ADHD woman, which a large population of female Gen Xers, I think, specifically from the 70s and 80s that never got diagnosed properly. That in and of itself creates its own resilience or, its own challenges. I was in the military. I deployed. Wow. So I've been deployed. So I do deal with some PTSD issues still, even after 30 years. So there are lots of struggles that I deal with, but I've learned through trail running, to be honest with you, that again is where God talks to me about these struggles. He reminds me that he's there. Yeah. And he's always been there. And the trail running, especially the longer the distance, also helps remind me of that because I know that I wouldn't be able to get through it without him. And so he helps me remember that if I can run this 100 miles or I can run this 13 miles, 14 miles, I can do anything. Ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah. It's your healing place and meditation, it sounds like.
Exactly.
Where along that path of everything you went through did you really get into running?
So I started running somewhat in high school because I did run cross country. And then, of course, when I was in the military, it's kind of required.
Didn't have a choice.
Didn't have a choice. Right. But it really didn't start trail running until afterwards. Uh-huh. So when I was in the military, I actually snapped the arch in my foot.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that story.
Yeah. So I was doing karate and I snapped the arch of my foot while I was deployed. And so I have pinched nerves in my foot and I have chipped bone in my foot.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah. So when I got out of the military, I actually gained a large amount of weight.
So that's where the first weight gain really started was after your injury.
Yes, it did.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And so then several years afterwards, or a few years, I guess, I started on a wellness path again, where I really was trying to figure out what I could do.
Yeah.
And I lost a whole bunch of weight. And that's really when I started to trail run. And that really is where I started my healing process.
That's amazing. Now, do you see a mindset coach too?
I have in the past, yes.
How has that helped you?
Oh, it helps me tremendously because it gave me and it has given me a lot of tools too. Like the self-talk, that has also helped tremendously. But just
describe that a little to me, because a lot of women do this and I want them to hear this. Like, what is that self-talk?
So self-talk is just making sure, well, first off, when a thought comes to my mind, if it's a negative thought, I first ask, is that true? Is it a truth or is it an opinion? And if it's an opinion, I then kind of think, okay, that's an opinion and it's not true. And if it's negative, then it really isn't true. And I try to like push it out. And then I start doing what I call my self-talk, which is where I then start giving myself positive affirmations. And, that is not true. Like, I'm not stupid. I am smart. And here's why I'm smart. And here's how I know I'm smart.
And we look at you and go like, how could you possibly think you're stupid? Like, you accomplish so much. You're an attorney, successful, running 100-mile races. But it is something that often we fight
on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And part of that is from growing up honestly, with undiagnosed ADHD.
Sure.
Because growing up, I always was hearing about how, why aren't you paying attention? Why didn't you complete this assignment? Why didn't you do this? You did, just a lot of stuff. You're lazy, you're lazy, you're lazy. Those type of things, when in reality, that wasn't what it was. It was that I had ADHD.
Your mind's going all places.
And my mind is going all over the place, or I'm frozen because, I'm overwhelmed, but I didn't know how to verbalize that because I didn't know what was going on. And so I had a lot more negative comments coming at me than positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then that creeps in still, even at 51.
So 51 now. Look amazing. How has that felt, like coming through as a mom, and now you've got an adult child, you've now got a supportive husband. How do you feel mentally and physically today?
Again, I feel amazing. I feel absolutely amazing.
Good.
And I feel that I can accomplish just about anything.
And what are you doing this year?
So this year, on October 31st, you and I both are going to do the Javelina 100.
We are. So
Yes,
we're
we
joining in as a team.
Yeah.
And going to do that 100 miles. Javelina, here we come.
Yeah.
How are you training for this?
So I actually did hire a running coach.
Amazing.
So I work with her. She's absolutely amazing. And every week she comes, provides me my plan, which is both weight or strength training, I should say, and running. And the thing is with the miles, when you're dealing with ultras, right, you focus on time on your feet versus miles. And so we're focusing just right now, just really making sure that my body's going to be able to handle being on my feet for 24 hours straight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much where we're at right now.
I love it. And we'll keep working together. Yes. Vitamins, nutrition, peptides.
Yes.
We'll keep sharing our story with everybody. But I'm really excited for this year for you. And I do see a light in you. I feel like the story I get over and over with a lot of women who have been through similar is they just want to feel back to themselves. Yes. And I feel like you're there, you're glowing and happier than I've ever seen you.
Thank you.
I love what we're doing together and where you've come. If you had one advice to give to other women, like going through their 40s, 50s, and they are feeling like, wow, I've put on 50 pounds. I don't feel like myself. What would you tell them?
Besides to contact you? Ultimately, I would tell them that they can do it. They can do it. And it's so important that they do it. And to educate themselves. And the more knowledge you have, the more that you understand what's going on, the easier it will be actually to accomplish it. But the biggest thing I think is I want to tell people is make sure to give yourself grace. Yeah. It's not going to happen overnight. We are not perfect human beings. And we do have to allow ourselves those bumps in the road and allow ourselves to not be perfect because we're not.
I love that. And I love what you said before too, a day at a time sometimes. And that's where we're at. And we support that with our running. We support that with our faith in God. We support that with proper nutrition, exercise, sleep. And you've really brought that package together. So thank you for being such an amazing model of that.
Well, thank you.
And I'm looking forward to this year.
I am too. I'm excited.
Thanks for joining us, and hope you stay tuned for Javelina this year and more of our running. Talk to you soon.